does he want to be back in the NFL? He certainly is riding high right now. As for the offensive coordinator, I think things are just kind of getting going.
What's going on with the Buckeye coaching search, trying to bring in an offensive coordinator / head coach of the offense and try to retain the services of Matt Patricia? Before you give your take, this was earlier today. The guys in Morning Juice, they talked to Albert Breer of the MMQB. He was a diehard Buckeye fan. So Albert is obviously reporting, but he knows what's going on with Ohio State. He's an OSU alum. I always enjoyed talking to Albert. Maybe we'll try to get him on the show at some point, give him an outlet just to talk Buckeyes with us, maybe as we get closer to the NFL draft in April. But here is what Albert Breer had to say about possible defensive coordinator opportunities for him in the NFL.
What a lot of people around here want to know is we can merge little NFL and college. Matt Patricia on the short list, I'm sure, for some of these defensive coordinator positions that are still open. Like, what is his appeal? And do you think that he would be someone that, some of these guys would be looking to add on staff, whether they're building a whole staff out or even in a place like Dallas where there's an opening at the DC position?
Sure. I mean, I think, let's say if Matt Nagy had gotten the Tennessee job, I think he may have made a run at trying to get Patricia. Now, obviously, that's off the table because, Robert Saleh got the job. Robert runs a completely different system than that. So, that's not in play the way it was. So I think these things sort of float around this time of year and coaches have their wish lists. And so I don't think you guys would be surprised to hear that Patricia's on a couple of these guys' lists, but doesn't mean he's going anywhere. It's just sort of going to come down to what he wants. And I haven't gotten any sort of indication right now that he's closing in on one of the DC jobs. But I think if he really wanted to pursue one, it might be there for him.
Okay. Yeah. You heard it from the man himself. He covers the NFL better than anybody else, I think, across the league. Does a terrific job. Again, hit the follow button for him on X at Albert Breer. If there was a guy who knew and was very tied into what was going on in NFL circles trying to hire and target Matt Patricia, it would be him. So if you were having any panic at all, I think that kind of stamped out the panic for you a little bit.
Yeah, and if you pay attention on social media to recruiting, Matt Patricia is out on the road with Ryan Day.
Yes, he is.
Currently this week, which doesn't mean he's staying necessarily,
right.
But I think it's a positive sign that he's not actively out there trying to get another job. It just feels different, I'll say, than a year ago with Chip Kelly. I think leaving Atlanta for the national championship, coming back to Columbus, my delay in Baltimore, I was pretty confident that I'd seen Chip Kelly at Ohio State as the offensive coordinator for the last time. I did not feel that way leaving, where were we? Dallas for the playoff quarterfinal. I felt like, and I mentioned this when we talked about it a week or so ago, when we talked to Matt Patricia in the locker room, it was very much about next year. Here's the things we got to do.
And that can change.
That definitely can change. But I think it sounded positive. Look, from my understanding, Ohio State knows what, the ball is in Matt Patricia's court. If there's an NFL team that comes in, unless they give some sort of absurd offer that Ohio State just, it's not worth them.
Which is what Chip Kelly got.
Exactly.
It was a 2 or 3 year contract at $6 million a year.
Right.
You got to go. You got to leave.
Yeah. Unless something like that happens, and I would be surprised if it does, I think Ohio State is willing to match pretty much whatever and make him the highest paid coordinator if that's what he wants. It's got to come down to what Matt Patricia wants, and we just don't know that for sure. I think he, as I've said before, I think he really likes Ohio State. I think he really likes his family being around this whole college thing that's a very different atmosphere than the pros. But, does he want to be back in the NFL? He certainly is riding high right now. As for the offensive coordinator, I think things are just kind of getting going.
Yeah.
I think Ryan
Phase 2 of the offseason.
Yes. Ryan wanted to get through the transfer portal stuff. They got through that for the most part. Then there's the Patricia stuff. But also, not that it necessarily has to be an NFL guy, but I think he's clearly enamored with NFL coordinators. We've seen that. So, get all your options on the table. Let's see what's available with the NFL. Let's remember, last year, Matt Patricia was officially hired, though it was reported before then, I think February 20th. So that's a month away. I would not be surprised.
I don't like to be patient, though, Pat.
I know, and I completely get why people don't. But if you get it right, you feel pretty good about it after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Even if you had to wait.
Yeah, for sure you do. So a lot going on kind of in Buckeye land. Again, phase 2 just underway, looking for a head coach of the offense, offensive coordinator. Again, I'm still not how sure they're going to work out like the full-time assistants and the recruiting and everything, which I think will be kind of a unique, it'll be a unique experience for Ohio State either way they decide to do it.
Yeah, and I just remind people, you can have 10 assistants that can go on the road recruiting.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you can only have 10 assistants. And you can kind of figure out.
They don't just have 10 assistants.
No,
they
correct.
have plenty more than
right.
that.
But even a coordinator, in theory, could be a guy that doesn't go on the road recruiting if you decided to work it out that way.
We talked about offseason phase 2 beginning.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's starting winter workouts next week, so they're on a little bit of a respite. At least the football team is. So they got that going for them, which is nice. They're going to be thrust back into winter workouts next week. But what else is kind of burning in your mind right now?
Yeah, it is crazy since you bring that up. Just like this is when the work really starts, right? Like when no one's watching, that type of thing. I know they say that a lot around there.
Champions are made when no one is watching.
Yeah, and I remember before, I think it was the Big Ten championship game, their like hype trailer that they put out on Thursday evenings.
At 6:30.
At 6:14, actually.
Okay.
That that kind of focused on that to start and like went back to some of the clips from that.
Just like the Seahawks hype video did this week.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it's the same result. But the work starts now, and you have to put in the right effort, have the right mindset, all of that. Like this is the beginning, and if this doesn't get handled the right way, your season doesn't go the way you want. And I was talking with one of our guys over at Bucknuts the other day just about the schedule next year. And I know this year's schedule looked more daunting on paper before the season than it turned out to be, but it's hard to imagine that next year's schedule won't be pretty difficult with those games that they have.
Oh, it's going to be a monster. How excited are you for the schedule release next Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm very interested.
And how upset were you that you didn't have a schedule yet?
Yes, very. I've asked multiple times over at Ohio State, like any word on this? What's going on? But
we'll wait till the national championship game's over.
Yeah, it's fine. They don't really need to do it. But I think you have one home game, and it's the Indiana game that's closer than like 8 hours. Or one away game, I'm sorry, that's closer than 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you're going out to USC, right?
Yeah, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa. Or Nebraska and Iowa. They play Oregon at home. You go to Texas. Like, it's a daunting one. Obviously, teams are going to change. Like, maybe USC isn't as good again next year. Maybe Indiana has a bit of a step back after 2 really good years. Who knows what that's going to look like. But it's definitely going to be challenging, and so you've got to put the work in now.
You do only have 5 road games next year, which is nice.
Yeah. Indiana's interesting. We were talking about this with a couple of people at the basketball game the other night. Like, now you've done it, and you haven't been a program like Ohio State, but even Ohio State had to deal with the defending national champions. Like, everybody does, right? So how do you, as Indiana, and I know that they've defied all of the logic when it comes
literally
to this.
all of it.
Yeah, but
it's like humans defying gravity, what they've done.
Yeah, like Wicked.
I don't know what that is.
I know you don't.
Wicked or Goo? Yeah, I got nothing on the Wicked references.
But yeah, how does Curt Cignetti, how do the players, how does the staff, and obviously Curt Cignetti's won at different levels. He's been a part of a national championship with Alabama, but it is different. And Ohio State saw that at times this year, and I think it got to them a little bit at points. I think they handled it about as well as you can, but how does Indiana do that? And, I know the roster's going to change, and they're going to bring in transfer guys, and they already have.
The roster always changes.
Yeah, but is that sustainable? Can you do that year over year and be successful, or are you going to miss some years and it's going to all collapse on you?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because we had Joshua Perry on last night, and I kind of asked him that same question. You go from being the hunter, which no animal was worried about you hunting them, and now you're the hunted with the target on your back. How do you handle that? And what's that like? And Joshua Perry, again, you can go back and watch the YouTube show. You can listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Kind of echoed those same sentiments. Like, can you do it? My counter argument's like, well, I think success at Indiana is not necessarily winning a national championship. Like, success at Indiana, getting into the college football playoff, the standard that Curt Cignetti has set for them, you're going to lose games, right? Like, college football is difficult. We know that. It's just, can you win the games at the clip at which he's been winning at such a sustained rate? Can you do that over and over and over again? And history would tell you no, because it is impossible. Literally, no coach has ever done that. So again, what's their standard? They're giving him a lot of money. He just got a big contract extension after every year. Like if he makes the college football playoff, shout out to his agent too, because that's a terrific clause that he has in his contract. But I think the standard there now is firmly make the college football playoff, compete in the Big Ten. That's what it is.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is how teams try and emulate what Indiana's done.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're Ohio State, you take too much from that. But if you're one of these other programs that's been trying to get successful, can you do that without a Curt Cignetti? Because he's the key of all.
Or
of
who
it,
is
right?
the next Curt Cignetti, right? Like
But
Alex
is there-
Golish at Auburn?
But even is there a Curt Cignetti? Like the way that he's
No.
done it.
He's one of
You
one.
did you see the Google thing last night?
I did see
That was
that. If you
hilarious.
Googled Curt Cignetti, it just says under his name, yes, he won, which is awesome. Good job for the Google dev.